a lot of children are suffering. Our educational system has averaged at the high school 70% failure rate for the past decade.
Today I have a very special guest from GreyEx Group, who is based in the UK. A little bit awkward because he's my son. So we've got a very special guest today in Motheo Monti Kgengwenyane. Welcome, Monti.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. For the audience, when I was 5 or 6, struggled with reading, struggled with writing. Teachers didn't know what was going on. So then I got my dyslexia tutor, and that's when my language processing skills started increasing. That showed me the value of personalized education. When you personalize an individual's education, you can completely change the trajectory of their life. From start of high school to the end of high school, student engagement goes down by over 50% because students become disengaged. So with the traditional school, you'll learn on paper. So you go to school, you sit on your desk, and then you get given a book and you start working. With the Montessori school, you'll find that when you enter the classroom, there's equipment all over and the children are playing with it and they're learning in that manner. And they have a guide, a teacher who gives them individualized attention, not one teacher to 30 students or 35 students. I mean, 4 out of the 5 founders of the big tech companies went to a Montessori school. So it can show what type of people you can develop and create. Someone wanted to acquire GreyEd. They wanted to acquire for like
4.1 million pounds.
Million pounds, yes.
Yeah.
The vision I had for GreyEd was very different from the vision. Because of that, even though that's quite an attractive offer, I rejected it because my morals were like, no, you still have a responsibility to your customers, to the people you decided that you're going to serve. I truly believe what I'm building can affect 1 billion people.
Welcome to the Growth Well podcast, where we tap into a well of knowledge, innovation, and leadership to fuel Africa's growth. Here, we explore thought-provoking insights and expert knowledge that empower individuals and businesses to thrive across the continent. Whether it's personal development or professional advancement, our conversations inspire action and impact. This is Growth Well, where ideas flow and growth begins. Let's dive in.
We're back again. This is Growth Well podcast coming from you from Gaborone, Botswana. And this is Oabona Kgengwenyane at it again. So today, but before I go into that, let me just remind you that this is a podcast that brings you insights and ideas that hopefully can impact your life positively. Whether in Botswana, global, we try to take Africa to the world as well as part of the objectives of this podcast. But today I have a very special guest from GreyEx Group, who is based in the UK. A little bit awkward because he's my son, but there has been a lot of requests to say, Kante Oabona, why are you not bringing Monti to the podcast so that we can also learn? So we've got a very special guest today in Motheo Monti Kgengwenyane. Welcome, Monti.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we were chatting earlier that we've actually had an interview before, but I had forgotten about it. And you're asking, why should it be awkward? We've done it before. Yeah. Welcome to Growth Well.
Thank you.
And we so much look forward, especially the work that you've done at your age around Botswana and also in the UK, where you've been based for the last 3-4 years. So I'm looking forward to you sharing with our audience around those insights, especially the youth. But you and I have also chatted about, I think parents and elders also need a bit of inputs.
They do, especially in Africa.
Especially in Africa. Yeah. So before we start, I always start on a light moment. So from my side, I think what I can share with the audience is that one of the things that I try to do on a weekly basis is just in the morning after waking up, grabbing the cold shower. Remember the famous cold shower? And grab a cup of coffee and go out in the outside light. The light just by the sun in the morning, cup of coffee, no phone, no book is one of the most inspiring things, just observing the sun and looking at the skies and looking at the trees. So it's something that I do for about 10-15 minutes, whether you call it meditation or whatever, but it works for me. But try it. It might just work for you as well. Monti, from you're a man of energy, man of readings, man of lots of things. So what keeps you going?
I have a very different routine. I don't have a large company to have in place to allow me to take that time.
Yeah.
I mean, literally in the morning, I can wake up with my laptop on the side, because I fell asleep using the laptop, then wake up to start using the laptop immediately. But that's because it's a startup. And startups, you need energy. Execution speed is key, etc. But what keeps me going is, I guess, a moral obligation to myself, to my family, to the community, and to the world. That I feel that because of my story, when I was, but you know this, but for the audience, when I was 5 or 6, struggled with reading, struggled with writing. I remember in standard 3, I was getting 3 out of 20 in spelling tests, quite a lot. And teachers didn't know what was going on, etc. And then I got my dyslexia tutor. And that's when my language processing skills started increasing.
After being diagnosed that you are clinically dyslexic.
Yes.
And we got Dr. Kobus to help you outside school.
Yeah. So I was outside school and everything started improving. I never caught up with my peers, but the gap stopped increasing. And that was, I think, the most important part, that the gap stopped increasing. But that showed me the value of personalized education. That when you personalize an individual's education, you can completely change the trajectory of their life. In the UK, 65% of the prisoners there have some sort of neurodivergent condition. Neurodivergent.
Neurodivergent.
Yeah. So ADHD, dyslexia, etc. So they have some sort.
So these are conditions, but not necessarily mental conditions.
No. Yeah. Not mental conditions.
Yeah.
It's just that the education system is not set up to account for them. So they'll be classified as naughty, doesn't listen, has too much energy. I know Botswana parents love complaining about sons who have too much energy.
Yeah, we're jumping all over the sofas and breaking things and all that.
Calling them naughty.
And that's normal for kids, for boys.
It is.
Yeah, boys will be boys.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I have felt this moral obligation to do something about it. Because it does affect a lot of people. And I'm part of the story as well. So that's really what keeps me going. That can get me out of bed on a bad day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your reflection on the past is something that actually defining your future in terms of how you want to contribute. So in other words, you feel like you have a sense of meaning and purpose in terms of what you need to do, and that keeps you waking up in the morning.
That is definitely my meaning to life. That's definitely what keeps me going. Yeah, without a doubt.
Okay. Yeah, no, I remember very well when that early and you were struggling to read. I know, I know that, we're really struggling with your mother in terms of how you were struggling to read. You actually you're photographing the pages.
What was it? Because we had a reading buddy.
Yeah.
And the reading buddy would first read the book to you, and then you read it back to them. So my reading buddy would read it to me, and then I actually read it back. But then when I came home to practice the book, we'd be reading with Mama. We'd be reading, and my eyes go somewhere else around the room, but I'm still reciting the book. And then she gave me another book to read, and I couldn't read at all. And that's because I actually memorized every word for word what the reading buddy had been saying.
This is very powerful, Monty, because, I was, as you know, during our days, we did national service. And when I was doing national service in a village called Pilikwe, I was, we did rotations. I did teaching. I worked at the agriculture demonstrator. I worked with Ralo Palo, or the, what they call Mokenti, who was looking after livestock. I worked at the Kotla. But, when I was a teacher I remember I was teaching standard 7 students. And one of the students had actually repeated twice. And even with that level of going through, and he was the older, I think he was 15, 16 at the time, doing standard 7, and he was struggling to write. He was struggling to write his name. And as you said, the schools, especially the public schools, are really not structured to deal with those sort of, I don't know whether you're going to call them certain deficiencies or neurodivergent conditions as you nail them. But we're losing so much talent, isn't it, due to that unpersonalized and a system that does not recognize these types of kids. And I don't know if you interface with a lot of schools in Botswana now. Do you realize that there's a bit of an uptake? I know we'll talk about the tool that you've developed that will help with that. We'll discuss later on. But do you think there's a a bit more uptake in terms of understanding these conditions, as you said, in terms of especially boys?
In the private schools, yes, they're quite progressive. They do understand the condition. Because, I mean, like you said, we're losing a lot of individuals. And it's a talent drain because we lose them out of the economic system. Because they usually end up in prison or in Botswana, somewhere in the country, in Amasimo, in Keto, because they couldn't.
They couldn't go through the education system.
They didn't pass Form 3. You know, they'll say things.
So it affects the social mobility.
And things like that, yeah. So, and you realize that I think it's over 60% of entrepreneurs have some sort of neurodivergent condition, whether it's ADHD, dyslexia.
60%
over
of
60.
entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Well, Elon Musk.
Yeah, I mean, Elon Musk is very evident that he has
he's got a condition.
Yeah. But you find out, I mean, Richard Branson, Albert Einstein, all these guys.
He's dyslexic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Who else?
Albert Einstein.
He was dyslexic as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even in the Hollywood, I forgot the actors, but a majority of them also have dyslexia. So you find, because the reason being is, you know, when you're young and you have a learning condition, you have to overcome it. You know, you have no choice but to overcome it. So that struggle really builds that pain tolerance that you face as an entrepreneur. You know, so that you find that many of them actually, and ADHD people can't stop. You know, they can't help but keep going. So you find out it's quite a talent drain that we're losing.
Okay.
So yeah, but when you go out into the schools, the private schools are quite progressive. The public schools, they're progressive in the sense that they have a special needs department. Not progressive in the sense that they're changing the way they teach. You know, you had Salim.
Salim Ismail, who visited Botswana last year.
And he spoke about the immune system. That for the body's immune system, when a pathogen comes in, your body goes and attacks it immediately and kills it. So the same thing happens in business. The same thing happens in businesses themselves and in industries. When a new idea comes in, they go and kill it immediately. You know, in businesses, managers say, no, we've been doing this for 20 years. It's been working this way. It's been making us money.
Why should we change?
In industry, they want to keep, businesses are built for predictability and stability. So they want to predict how things are going to be. So they don't want things to change. So in the education sector, it's a very strong immune system. I mean, Salim says that the only thing that's stronger is the Catholic Church, where nothing changes, no new ideas entertained.
Education is
Education is number 2. We were still teaching the same way we taught 120 years ago.
Exactly. That actually the education systems were designed for the factory worker.
Exactly.
And we're still doing the same thing today.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you an example of what happens when you just tweak a little bit. I think Montessori schools. They set up different for more practical learning, more...
What type of schools? Montessori?
Yes.
Okay, can you explain a bit more for the viewer what it is?
Montessori, I think, was an Italian scientist, and she wanted to teach her children differently. So she set up the school system where it's more personalized learning and it's more interactive learning. So when you're doing a creativity test called the alternative use test, you get a child to say, what are the alternative uses of a bucket? Now, someone who goes to a traditional school will only recite it from concept. That, okay, a bucket, you can use it for sitting, wearing as a hat, wearing as a cape, carrying stuff, etc. But they're doing it from concept that they actually haven't done it hands-on. Someone who went to a Montessori school, they played with the bucket.
Okay.
You know, they actually learned hands-on. So when you look at that and you look at the top 5 most valuable companies in the world, the big tech companies, 4 out of 5 of them, the founders, went to a Montessori school.
Okay.
The Google guys.
These Montessori schools are now global. They're just not Italy-based.
They're global.
Okay.
They're global.
Yeah.
They're now global. They're everywhere. I think there's one in Botswana. And
there's a Montessori school here.
Yeah, there's one.
Okay. They're global, as you said.
They're everywhere. It's a concept. It's not owned by someone.
Yes.
It's a concept that you can just apply.
That you can apply. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, 4 out of the 5 founders of the big tech companies went to a Montessori school. You know, the only one was Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs went to a Montessori
He's the only one who didn't.
Okay.
But otherwise, his children went to a Montessori school. So it can show what type of people you can develop and create.
Just to remind us, just say it again, the difference between a Montessori school, you used the example of buckets, and the typical school, whether let's say the primary school or, Ituting or Borobadilepe, what is the difference in terms of how we teach compared to Montessori school? Just for further clarity.
Okay. So with the traditional school, you learn on paper. So you go to school, you sit on your desk, and then you get given a book and you start working. Or the teacher is transmitting information to you verbally, and it's in that way. With the Montessori school, you'll find that when you enter the classroom, there's equipment all over, and the children are playing with it.
Okay.
And they're learning in that manner.
Okay. They learn by doing.
They learn by doing.
By doing, by action, by practice.
Yes.
Okay.
And they have a guide, a teacher who gives them individualized attention. Not one teacher to 30 students or 35 students.
Okay.
It's actually one who gives them individual attention. So that's one of the big differences between the two. So that's we're not really, it's very hard to change the education system.
Okay.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. But I think what you are saying in essence is that your drive to be an entrepreneur at this very young age of 24, if I remember right. People always say you should always check fathers, and sometimes they don't know their sons. So I'm just
which year am I born in? Which year?
Which year?
Yeah.
Were you born? Yeah. 2000, yours is easy.
Okay, good.
Only 2000, man. So I think the picture you are painting is that you were, you had these challenges in terms of being dyslexic, and you went through the school with all this support, which you also feel a bit bad that other kids had to drop along the way because they didn't have same support. And that is where a part of your entrepreneurial drive comes from.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
another one, just to add, it's also to, there are a lot of smart people in Botswana.
Smart people.
Smart. A lot of intellectuals. Especially the young people, especially when you talk to them. They have good ideas. They have passion, etc. It's also to show them that there's no reason why you can't do it. That even if you're a young person, you can actually start something and try. I know that this is not my first company. This is not the first one I started.
Yeah.
As a young person, you have to try everything. I've been in drones. I've been all over the place trying to figure out what I like, what I want to do. Because I wasn't born knowing what I want to do.
No, yeah.
I had to figure it out by going out into the world and trying things. So I also want to show young people that it's actually very possible.
Yeah, it's doable. It's doable. Let's get to the next stage, Monty, because you albeit having had this context of your early days and the struggles with school, you still started entrepreneurship very early. I mean, we were obviously as parents, we were very worried that there you were at university and talking about businesses and registering businesses in the UK, and this guy is like talking more about business than school, and and we are traditional parents. We're like, yeah, man, we need that A.
Yeah,
we need you to pass. And I just wanted to share the perspectives of how that worked out for you to have such an early start, which currently, I mean, we'll talk more about it. How you are now a global speaker. You recently spoke at the National Business Conference here in Botswana when you were in the UK. You going around inspiring schools, and I know you've adopted a school in Muchudi that you are helping with AI. So all these things came about because something happened for you to start that early. You want to just share what happened there?
Yeah, I've also been trying to investigate why I started early. Because
it's interesting that sometimes you don't have answers to these things. They actually wonder. You reflect afterwards, like, what did this happen?
Yeah, because I remember in 2016, I think we went to holiday in the UK. And when we were driving around, I was looking out and looking at other businesses. Businesses with the names on their building. And I was taking note of those businesses. And then I'd go and Google them and research them and learn about them. And
you were 16 at the time?
I was 16. Because I wanted to learn how they got there. I've always dreamed of having a building with my name on it. But now that's changed. But at that age, that's what I wanted. So I was researching how did they do that. And then, they provide, identify a problem and they provide a solution. Because we're not taught this in school. So from a young age, I've always been looking to provide a solution, to build something. And I don't know why, but maybe it's because I've watched you provide a solution to the economy. And I've also watched Mama provide a solution to the economy. So then I was like,
each on their own space.
Yes, each
their
on their own
talent,
space.
yes.
But when you take apart everything, what you guys actually do, but you take apart the concept that you're following, you identified a very specific problem.
Correct.
And you're providing a solution that hasn't been tried before, but it's very valuable.
Meeting an unmet need, as they say it. Yeah.
Yes. So from a young age, that's what I've been wanting to do. So I think it's from observing you two growing up that maybe subconsciously got implanted in my mind. Because even, when I was 16, I was complaining. I think SIPA only went online in 2019.
SIPA,
yeah. And I wanted to register a business before they went online. And I was complaining because you have to go in person to go and register. This doesn't make any sense. And then apparently you had to be 18 as well to register a business. What if you're under 18, you want to? So I remember from young age, those are the thoughts I was having. But now, so I think that's why I started. And then when I got in the game, I just started having fun. It's quite fun not knowing how things are going to end up, but investigating along the way and finding out. So that curiosity drove me as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, from a young age, I've like wanting to do that.
There's something peculiar about entrepreneurs, as you might know. Sometimes you know more stuff than me, and I have to say I learn a lot from you, and I'm sure you're prepared to brag about it. But anyhow, there's they say only 5% of global population are really true entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are very unique people. Obstacles don't stop them. Currently, with our companies, Digital High, Lead, the economy is not doing very well, and a couple of struggles. But I recall 2008, and I'm just like, we'll go through this. They say entrepreneurs, even if things are really bad, they can still have a good night's sleep, and that's very that's very unreal. So I just wanted to check, because they also tend to do things against the grain, or they break the mold. In other words, they do things that people don't expect. And I just wanted to see whether you had that moment. When you came to us and said, which was quite troubling, when you said, Batsadi, kana school is my side hustle. That's a shocking statement for a young man to say. Do you want to just reflect on that? What type of guts did you get to tell us those type of things? And even at school, the balancing between having to pass, and congratulations, obviously you just graduated this year with your degree in economics and econometrics, and that's a big kudos for you. But just to reflect on I think the last 2 or 3 years, you've been trying to balance the two. Yeah. How did that happen?
I don't think I've ever told you guys this, but my attendance for university this past my final year was actually 23%.
23%? You want me to stop the podcast and then we got top, dude?
But yeah, it was actually pretty low. And to be honest, the only reason it was actually 23% is because when you go below a certain
then the school can pick it up.
Your visa gets affected.
Oh, even the visa gets affected.
Yeah, you need to be attendance. So I would wait till I get an email from the school saying you're at risk with your visa, etc., because of your attendance. Go to class, maybe 2-3, stop, work, then wait for another email again saying your risk, it goes down. So that cycle kept repeating. And that's because, you have to pick your sacrifice as an entrepreneur. You have to pick your burden. I think Jordan Peterson says, pick your burden and bear it. Nietzsche is the one who says, he who has a why can bear almost anyhow. So when you have a meaning to life, you're willing to bear all the consequences of choosing that direction. So in uni, it was very difficult. It's very difficult to balance university and being an entrepreneur founder, because as you know, my degree is in economics. It's not in technology. So I had to learn a lot. I was basically doing another degree on the side of this degree. So because of that learning process, plus also trying to build a product, it was very difficult to balance the two. So I had to make a decision. Okay, I can't drop out of school because that will cause too much noise. Exactly. That will cause too much noise. Okay, but what can I do? I can at least minimize my
It's interesting
attendance.
you say that because, it's quite almost funky that, Steve Jobs and all these guys all dropped out, school dropouts and worked at their garage. That I'm sure it's a lot of tempting for the young people to say, I'm going to be part of this group of this cadre that dropped out of school. I'm just wondering when you were in that space.
And that was a debate I did have.
Is it?
It was, but it goes down to building your own personal values and morals. Because I believe that if you start something, you finish it.
Yeah.
It's very easy to start a business. And then when things get tough, you close and start a new business. And then when things get tough, you close and... So I don't want to get into a cycle like that where if things get tough, I then move on, close and start something else. But I needed to teach myself and also prove to myself that, okay, if you start something, you finish it. And university is a great example of that. That's why employers find people with degrees valuable. Yes, because of their degree and what they learn, but also to show that, okay, when they start something, they can finish it.
Yeah. Finish what you started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was also very important to me, why I didn't drop out or even have a conversation with you about it. Because no, actually, I made a commitment, so I need to fulfill it. Even if this thing blows up, I still have a responsibility to finish my degree and get it. So I was like, okay, what can I do to at least balance the two? I know I have a great memory. And my exam, unfortunately, was in person. So I couldn't use ChatGPT.
Which I hope was illegal.
No.
It's not illegal?
No. Make it illegal to use a calculator then.
Yeah.
But it's not advisable, but you can use it to help
students,
you.
To help.
Don't outsource your intelligence.
Sure.
So I just decided, okay, I'm going to focus on the business. Low attendance, fine. But I know that before the exam, if I study the day before all the content of the year, I can memorize it. And then I can go and write the exam. So that's exactly what happened. I got very low attendance, but I managed to pass because I just memorized everything before the exam or learnt everything before the exam.
But there's got to be some deep down habit apart from memorization to be able to get 23% attendance and still get a degree from a good university and still have some level of success with your startups. I mean, that's in terms of habits.
Sacrifice. I sacrifice social life, sacrifice seeing friends, seeing families, birthdays, a lot. I know we always have this debate about it, but I had no choice but to sacrifice it. I haven't been out in I think literally years. I haven't had a drink in literally years. It's been tough, but it's been worth it because I truly believe what I'm building can affect 1 billion people. Yeah. I truly believe it. So because of that, I'm like, okay, it's worth the sacrifice. It's worth it. It's worth sleeping maybe average 4 hours throughout the entire week.
And I have a big problem with 4 hours sleep.
I know.
And like you said, we always fight over it because I always, some of us went as an entrepreneur myself, went through the whole story, went through very stressful times to start up. As you know, Africa is very, very daunting in terms of entrepreneurship, over-regulated markets, relying on foreign companies for things that we can do because we don't trust each other. So you go through these lack of sleep and sometimes the risks, and this is the risks that's documented to entrepreneurs, is to get into mental health issues, is to get into disease. I mean, actually people getting into early blood pressure, getting into not eating right because they're just focusing on their thing, so that's why you and I have this friction to say, try and balance, because I'm interested in making sure that you keep good health.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's something that, the discussions continue.
How do you know when something's a sacrifice? It hurts. So that's why it's called a sacrifice. So you sacrifice sleep. You don't want to. You want to sleep, but it's painful. So that's how you know it's worth it. That's how you know you're doing the right thing if it truly hurts and you're uncomfortable.
Okay. I think you've opened business accounts in UK. I know you opened business accounts also in the States. I know you even tried Israel. That did not go very well. And entrepreneurs experiment. Sometimes it's very difficult to talk to people who are not in that space of being able to experiment and sacrifice because they think you are risking things, you are risking money that you could have a better life and things like that. So what did you first? What are those businesses? What did they focus on and why? Like you said, you talk about drones, you talk about sensors and all that. How did you get into AI as the underlying platform for your takeoff as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So, I started my businesses, and actually, my first one was here in Botswana. But as you said, Botswana is Africa is a very difficult economy, very overregulated, still too much paper, still too much in-person things which waste a lot of time.
Yeah, because you told me you registered everything, a bank account, everything UK. You never visited a bank.
I've never been to a bank branch in the UK. Never.
And that makes starting a business a lot cheaper.
It does.
And easier, a lot more efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been to a bank branch in the US as well. Never. But we operate in those countries. And I've never been to the equivalent of a SEPA there, companies house in the US. Except I've never been to the tax authorities in person.
Everything has been online.
Everything's completely online, streamlined, everything. So they want you to succeed there, because they want the economy to grow. So they enable the environment for entrepreneurs to thrive. So, I think the overregulation is important because Europe, the EU, just released a report saying that they're admitting to being behind in innovation due to overregulation.
Compared to the US, especially.
Compared to the US.
Yeah.
The most valuable
maybe
company
East Asia as well, maybe.
Yeah, even to China, they're losing to China. The most valuable company in Europe is about $450 billion. The US has 5 companies over $1 trillion. China equivalent that side as well. So Europe has admitted, and these companies are relatively new. The $1 trillion companies in both Asia and the US. This company has been for Europe. It's been there for over 100 years.
The 400 billion.
Yeah, they have nothing new that's worth as
a laggard.
Yeah, so they've admitted that because of overregulation, they're behind now because it makes it very expensive.
No, it does.
To start up.
And not attractive to entrepreneurs to come.
Yeah,
to come there. Yeah,
yeah. So but I didn't know what I wanted to do when I started in first year. So I was like, okay, one of the main problems in agriculture, which makes it very expensive because we have a farm and we do farming quite a bit.
Yeah.
We could identify a few problems that, we have large farms here. You can have people have farms of 20,000 hectares. You can't get to the center. It makes it very expensive to keep getting to the center quite often. So I was like, okay, drones, spread and spray drones can really solve that. So that's what led me to go into that to solve that issue. I did it in the UK, and tried doing it elsewhere, like Israel, where it failed as well. And then I got drones led me to autonomous drones. Reading about autonomous drones led me to AI. Reading about AI led me to say, this is... then reading about Peter Diamandis, and Ray Kurzweil and the doubling curve. I was like, okay, it follows the doubling curve, which is an exponential graph, different from linear. And that led me to, this is actually coming faster than what is predicted from the experts and the academic experts. So that led me to now focus learning a lot about AI. And then ChatGPT came out. And then I was like, this is very interesting.
It's an inflection point.
I know that this is going to be applied heavily in commercial business operations, efficiency, HR, all those things. No doubt that people are going to solve those problems with AI. I know that they're going to neglect education because there's no money in education. Everyone knows that. Even when at some point I was trying to raise money because everything was financed by my allowance. So at some point I was trying to raise money because runaway was a problem, but also left as well.
he gets allowance, and instead of going to buy things and enjoy the UK, he goes, puts it in the business. This chap.
I mean, at some point, it was so bad that I couldn't afford anything.
Yeah.
I could, Greg's had a pie for £1, and that's what I could afford.
A pie?
A pie. And that's what I could eat for the day because everything else was going to the business. So, that led me to realize, they're going to need education. And I was raising, and when I was there, people was like, Monty, there's no money in education. You might find a few VCs who are passionate about education. That's why they have it. But otherwise, everyone knows there's no money in education. You do it because you love it. So that, and I loved it. And that's what led me to start GreyEd.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about GreyEd. Your baby.
Yeah, so much work there.
Yeah.
But I love it. I mean, GreyEd goes in and learns everything about the child. Hobbies, interests, preferred learning style, preferred learning disabilities, family, etc. And then it's also been trained on the curriculum that the child is studying. So whether it's the Cambridge curriculum, so your IG, GCSE or A-levels, etc., whether it's IB, in Botswana, PSLE and stuff like that. It's also been trained on this curriculum. And then it's also been made safe. So they can't use it for anything outside of education because, ethics and
from
safety.
Ethics.
Under 18s are using it.
Because these are kids,
These are children. So it's very important. I mean, with ChatGPT, you can learn how to make napalm, napalm is banned in international law. But you can trick Chat to teach how to do it. So it's been made safe. And so it's basically there to be the most personalized tutor to students. Students can use it for anything, homework, studies. If they want to start a startup, we've also taught it on great startup models that have been
while still studying.
Because to me, children, when they're young, they're highly creative. They have that ignorance of, they don't have a Harvard MBA to unlearn, as they like saying, because we're living in a new era of business models. So they have that ignorance, and I believe they should do their startups. So we've also taught it to do that. And we saw that the cost of tutors, whether it's in the West where it's about $20 to $40 an hour, whether it's here about 200 pula plus, now it's very expensive, because you're already paying school fees, you're already paying other bills.
Yeah, then you have to cover again outside the school.
Yeah. So what we've done is, okay, how do you pay that same exact price you're paying for the tutor per hour, but then you get it for the entire month, unlimited all the time they're available. So that fixed the costing problem. That fixes the personalized problem as well. And then now students
are
can
you able, for those that are interested in actually taking over GreyEd tool for their kids or for the teachers? I know you'll mention the support to teachers as well.
Yeah.
Are you able to share the price right now in which they can pay to subscribe to GreyEd?
Yeah. So for students, it's $10.
$10
per month.
Okay. Which is about 150 pula or something like that?
Yeah. 150 pula a month. And so that's students one. And then most importantly, learning. I know there are a lot of parents here who talk to me about, I don't know how to help my child. They're struggling in school, etc. This tool is designed to help them. It's been trained on many different learning disabilities, been trained on many different learning methods, teaching methods, tutoring methods, all those things. So it's designed to really help your child. And then the teachers spend about 8 hours a week on admin work, whether it's to lesson planning, grading, etc. So our goal was to cut that down by over 95%.
95%?
95%.
Basically non-teaching time.
Yes.
Where the teacher is doing work.
I mean, teachers spend more time on admin work than with the students.
Teaching.
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
It's ridiculous. It's
a messed up business model.
Totally.
Yeah.
So now
no wonder you get such poor performance of students in these schools.
And then we get surprised,
Yeah.
So what it does, it's been trained on the curriculum that the teacher is teaching, on the teacher side of the curriculum. And then it basically automates everything. Lesson planning, you have your lesson plan in seconds. You can do personalized lesson planning. So if you have a student who's dyslexic and you want to teach them, but you don't know, you haven't been trained in dyslexia, all you have to do is learn how to execute, because it can make the lesson plan for that student. It can also do grading. You just upload the documents. It's a couple of seconds later. It's all graded. It will mark them. according to the mark scheme of the
No,
curriculum.
I get you, because they usually a mark scheme. And
Exactly.
teachers spend a lot of time. I mean,
A
I
lot of
remember
time,
when I
okay.
was at National Service, I was a teacher. The nights were spent with a pile of books.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that automated. If it's if it's a paper copy and you can't upload it, you just take a picture.
It will still read it.
And then it will read it and then mark and just upload it. It will mark it, give a grade, comments, etc. So we've automated grading, we've automated lesson planning, etc. Now teachers are freed up about 7 hours per week to either their overtime or spending more time with
7
children.
hours a week freed for
Freedom.
teachers to focus on teaching.
On teaching.
Contact time.
Yeah. So now they get to spend more time with their students while also making more personalized lesson plans for their students. So this is quite a powerful tool. This is only the beginning. Because
And can it also, you talk about kids with certain conditions. What about, I suppose you still have just slow kids. They don't have to have a condition, like your bottom 20% who are really struggling with school. You can actually also teach the AI to address and facilitate, whether it's resourcing, whether they're struggling with reading. You can customize. Are you able to do that?
So what we make is we make a student profile. We do personality tests, etc. Make the student profile, train the AI with it. And then the AI knows the student. So if it knows the student has been averaging low grades.
Yeah, struggling with the maths or struggling with English, or
it'll pick it up and then tailor it to them. So let's say I love Arsenal. I love physics. I have a cousin who loves football and I have dyslexia. So it'll tailor, if I will ask, can you, I missed class today and we were learning about Newton's laws of motion. Could you help me with that? So it'll take into account the fact that I love Arsenal. I have a cousin who loves football. I'm dyslexic. So it'll make the lesson in context of that, saying, oh, when you're at the Emirates Stadium and you're playing football with your cousin.
Using that as an example.
And you're kicking the ball, before you kick the ball, it's not in motion. And then when you kick the ball, a force is acting. Like it'll tailor it to even use words too that you can understand so that there's relevance. When there's relevance, it's very easy to remember.
No, it's very easy, yes.
So it really does
drive
personalize.
interests and motivation to learn.
Yeah. So we provide this to schools. With schools, we build a student profile for each student. And the student now has a personalized tutor while they're in school. And then teachers at the same time also get the same automated grading, lesson planning, etc. Even if they want to brainstorm lessons, they can ask the AI on brainstorming lessons. In government public schools, we have very limited resources. You tell the AI, I have limited resources, but I want to show them the concept of photosynthesis. How can I do that? It'll give you an idea of what you can do. So it's really there to really help and drive personalization and in the education system.
So, but Monti, what you're saying, it sounds like just common sense, clear value add. A student can up their pass rate. The teacher can spend more time.
But most importantly, in terms of pass rate, I went to MAP and we produced lots of good results.
Marua secondary, yeah.
Yeah, but we memorized the mark scheme to pass. We didn't understand
That's
the content.
That's not going to go well with the Marua principle.
That's how it went, When you ask all my classmates, we were literally studying with the mark scheme.
Yeah.
But that's memorization. That's not understanding.
I got you.
So this is taught to make sure that people, on top of getting high grades, they also understand the content.
Okay.
So
they become better future workers as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. What I want to ask you is clear value. And first is, has this been tested? And have we actually got case studies where either a school or a cadre of students actually perform better because of AI intervention? From the student's perspective, also from Arnalebo Paki, what they call testimonials of actually working. Because I know, we got, sometimes customers or the public can get quite skeptical. Theory helam.
Yeah.
So
that's good that that's good that they question these things. So there are case studies, and this not only attends to improved grades, improved understanding, but Gala did a poll that from...
Who did the poll?
Gala.
Okay, Gallup poll.
From basically start of high school to the end of high school, student engagement goes down by over 50% because students become disengaged.
Just say it again.
Student engagement from Form 1 to Form 5 or whichever system you're using, beginning of high school to end of high school, student engagement goes down by over 50%.
Student engagement goes down by 50%. It's half.
It should be going up.
And engagement, we mean actually involvement, interests, wanting to pass all those things.
Yes. So that's a problem. And mainly because students don't find any relevance in what they're learning. It's just one teacher communicating to 30 different personalities. It's maybe going to work for 1, 2, 3, 4. But the rest of them to become disengaged, you're like, I'm not connecting with it. This actually attends to that because now you're personalizing it to the student. And students now get a understanding. In math, many students are like, why do I need to learn this? They don't see the relevance of it. They don't know that, when you learn math, it actually teaches you how to think. It gives you a structure.
Like the famous calculus. What is this for?
What is this for? But it's not the calculus itself. It teaches you how to approach a problem. And it teaches that structure on how to approach a problem, which you face in life has many problems. So that relevance is not there. So student engagement goes down by over 50%. So it improves grades, engagement, teachers become morale goes up.
Okay.
Because they spend so much time on
engaging what they are trained for, what their call was to engage and
to
teach
with the students.
Yeah.
So it actually affects all parts of the
ecosystem. Yeah.
And most importantly, right now we're having a severe mental health crisis amongst young people. And But
before you get there, I don't know if you've answered my question. My question is there a clear correlation between AI intervention and school performance?
Yes.
All those things, engagement, but is that documented?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Especially in the West. It's you've seen students who have. So we've actually partnered with this company in the UK, which really attends to those with severe neurodivergent, so your autism, etc., like those severe cases. And these are the severe cases where the students can't even go to school. They actually learn from home. So they're using the AI to actually enhance the personalization of the lessons that they're giving the students from home. And you've seen more engagement go up. You notice that. You see that understanding goes up. And that has a direct correlation to grades going up. So there are documented case studies where across the spectrum, whichever way you're looking at, actually it does student engage. Because if it works with the cases of autism, etc., you can apply it everywhere else.
Yeah.
Because so there are documented cases on it. It's just very difficult to change the education system and have them open to new ideas.
Okay.
Because they believe what they're doing is working.
Is it? And we'll talk about the experience when I introduced you to some senior authorities here with no names But before that, you're talking about mental health as well.
Yes. So we're having a severe mental health crisis amongst young people. And I was really wondering how we're going to attend to this. So what we were trying to experiment with is we have large language models, which are intelligent systems, high IQ. That's what they're focused on, producing intelligence. Now we need something for EQ. And now we need something
emotional quotient, the emotional side, mental side. Yeah.
Yes. We need one which can attend to that. And that's where we're now doing emotional large language models, combining the IQ with the EQ. So with our AI, not only does it attend to everything that we've just described, it also attends to the mental health side of the student, because now we've trained it on scientifically backed data to increase the EQ of the AI so that students now have someone to go to. We have severe loneliness. I know that people are hesitant saying, no, this can't replace humans. We're not trying to replace humans. We're trying to solve the problem of mental health, loneliness, etc. And this is a form of a solution, because the AI can encourage students to be more social. It can encourage them to do other things as well, but it also understands. So we've developed a ELLM.
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 Okay. Say more about it.
So that's the emotional large language model.
Okay.
It understands the emotional side of the humans, etc. It's backed on scientific data, which is available online for people to view. And that's what we're plugged into GreyEd.
Mm-hmm.
We'll plug that in so that students, not only can they attend to the academic side, they also grow emotionally and mentally at the same time, because that's very important. Schools only focus on academic, which is good because that's their job. But we also need to focus on the emotional and mental growth of students. And that's what we're doing at the same time.
As they say, happier students do better at school. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah.
And this is this whole concept of positive education, which is also, growing across the world, where you build in elements of resilience, of personalizing education to make sure that the kids do stuff that they like, that aligns to who they are. And that increases performance of school. So that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And we just want to, before we carry on with education, have you cracked it? Are you getting customers, Botswana, global? What's going on?
Yeah, so we have, so it's a platform-based business, meaning that individuals can just sign up. So we have had growth in our teachers section, the grade teachers. We've had a nice growth there. Students as well. Students are signing up with Grade for Students. And then schools. So where we're really doing well is with the students and the teachers individually. Now with the schools themselves, that one takes more work.
Okay.
Because you're trying to implement, you have something new and you're introducing them to something that's been stuck the same way for over 100 years.
Yeah.
So it does take time. We do have to admit that. But what's nice is teachers are desperate for a
help.
solution. They feel like they're forgotten because they haven't been.
This is a global phenomenon, not just
not just bots, because they feel like they haven't been provided a solution in a very long time, so they feel forgotten. So they really just prefer this. Is just with the schools, it's a longer conversation.
Okay,
but we have a school in Motheo that has been very open. We're implementing it. They're building the student profiles, etc., for the teachers as well, and also in the UK. We've actually in the UK, we're actually doing even more research with the university. We're partnered with one of the top universities in the UK to conduct research with them to further personalize education and then for their own individual research purposes. And and then in the US, it's not a very big, right now we're only focused on the Cambridge curriculum. It's not a very big Cambridge one, but we have a few signups there as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also in Africa, Kenya as well, they're doing a big push for digitization, etc. So we're having good conversations there as well.
Okay. No, all the best. All the best. And I think in terms of, let's home on the Botswana system, you've had, mentioning no names, we've had an opportunity to go and present to very senior officials in the ministry to try and pilot a few schools. And how did that go?
Yeah. I mean, this is a perfect example of an immune system because we went there to the senior authorities. I think we actually met with most of the senior authorities there. We proposed the idea that we take, I think, we out of 5 or 10 schools, implement the GreyEd there across the schools for a year for them to notice the value. And it will be completely free of charge. We would cover the costs.
Free pilots at a targeted number of schools, and that's what
actually
you proposed.
Not even a targeted. We asked for the worst performing schools,
so that the value can be magnified.
Yes, the worst performing schools that have a digital infrastructure.
Yeah.
We asked for that. The 10 worst performing schools, and we covered the cost for an entire year so that they can see the value for both the teachers and the students. And we basically, the conversation didn't go anywhere because all of a sudden it became a lecture. With them, they started questioning me on my physics knowledge, etc. But it basically got nowhere, got shut down. We saw other senior members as well. Same thing. They're very good at listening, but they're not very good at actually doing anything. So that was the problem. I think it's very important that we speak the truth because if we don't, we'll carry on with the same system. So that's why I'm speaking like that. But it's very important that we actually do, because a lot of children are suffering. Our educational system has averaged high school 70% failure rate for the past decade.
For the public schools.
For the public schools.
70% failure rate. Not pass rate. I just want to be clear.
Yeah. 70% failure rate for the past 10
years. Some schools have done so badly that you get 14%, and sometimes when they improve to 30-something, there's a celebration.
Yeah.
When it's still over 60% of the school is failing.
Yeah. So they need to change. Digitizing and giving people tablets, great, but what for? In Kenya, they're having a problem right now.
Because they've given away
tablets. They've given to every student. But now students aren't using them for education purposes.
They're using them for Facebook.
TikTok, Instagram, all those things. Yeah. So just doing that is not enough. It needs to be a well thought out plan. So I think we're heading for the same problem that Kenya is having in terms of, TikTok, social media, and all those things. You're giving them access to that. So we really need to change.
Which is interesting, Monty, because if I can give you an example of a country that's relatively small and they have leveraged technology to push their development agenda. In this case, we're talking about Estonia, which interestingly, Botswana has benchmarked with them lots of times.
Yeah.
I mean, this is
we've had them over many times.
Yeah, I mean, they are an e-economy. And what's interesting for me is the impact of digitization on education. Now, Estonia is the top 3 in Europe in terms of performance, in terms of educational performance, simply because of how they have attacked the education system with technology.
Yeah.
So really, it could be one of the key unlocking levers that we can use in terms of applying, not just like you say, putting laptops and tablets on tables, but a total solution, which I think Estonia has done. Estonia is actually, they've even upgraded their teachers to make sure the teachers, they even go to the extent of doing posts, like people who are retiring at 50, they can go back into the education system. So they remain relevant and they become, also economic levers in the economy, which is quite interesting. So I just thought I would share.
I mean, that's a very good example, because when a government is very intentional about changing the education system, it works. It generally works. And it's very easy to tell when they're intentional, because look, AI came out, ChatGPT came out 2022, first half of the year. Singapore did not waste any time. Singapore announced that anyone over the age of 40 or 50, I can't remember, can come back for retraining on how to use AI for free for the elders. Because they know young people are going to adopt it.
Yeah, they're going to do it automatically.
Elders, they said...
They're going to retool. Yeah, you're going to retool.
Yeah, for free. Very intentional. And across our continent, have we seen that? Because that's part of education.
No, it is. It is. It is.
But has any government very intentional about it? I haven't heard any announcements.
And we were the most desperate continent.
Exactly. We need it the most. So I've decided that we can't rely on government. We need to do it in a way that minimizes the involvement, because whether across the continent, whether the political party changes or not, it still needs to be attended to at the end of the day, because what matters is the individual, regardless of what debates are happening. So that's what we just focused on carrying on.
Okay. So these stoppages or these immune systems, I mean, what do they do to your emotional drive? I mean, did they demoralize you in anyhow? Which I know also, talking to a lot of young people who are entrepreneurs in the country. I mean, there are lots of frustration. Some of them really, really can see they're very, very desperate. But how does that affect you guys?
Perspective. For me, it's in the moment I get very frustrated, because for me, it's like, this is such an obvious thing. You have an obvious problem. You have an obvious solution. It's not difficult. So I get frustrated that it doesn't make sense why we're not doing it. And then on the other hand, it's like, when you ask yourself, what is innovation? Innovation is you start innovating when you start rejecting reason. So when people come up with all these reasons why it can't happen, you start innovating on, okay, how do I actually do it? You face the barrier. That's what business is about. How are you going to overcome it? You need to innovate now. We need to go innovate our business model because the what we had planned, there was a blockage. So I think it's really about perspective, about how you view problems. I get very excited sometimes about a problem because I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to solve this, but I'm very, very interested to see how I do it. Like I get very excited sometimes, especially when it comes to the technology part. So I think it's about perspective on how you view problems.
Okay.
I think you have to voluntarily accept that you will be having problems.
Okay. I just want to link the some of the rejections you get here and to what happened with you in the UK while you're still a student, where you experienced the wow moment in a board meeting. And I'd like also to talk about that board meeting because part of what I tell a lot of young people is to show up in many things. When you're at university, show up, join clubs, join the SRCs or social clubs or learn music or participate in sports, and because that infrastructure will not be there after you finish school. So based on that involvement of yours, being on a board of an NGO, you experienced the wow moment that has led you to collaborate. So just talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I'm on the board of Eastside Charity.
Eastside Charity.
Yeah. Which is, they cater to creatives. So those who like film writing, poems, anything creative, they provide the platform for them to come and express it. And they asked me to do a presentation on technology and how it's going to impact their industry and also their business. So I prepared the presentation and I also presented because I think with the creatives, to be creative, you're expressing your emotional side. So I was like, let me also present the ELLM.
Okay.
And let me
the emotional language model.
And let me also cater it to the charity. So I took all the information about the charity, trained it on customized the grade for that. And I was so you call it like you're having a phone call. So I put it live and I invited the board members to come and have a chat with it individually. So after that, it went well. I presented. Then the next day, I get a phone call from one of the members saying, Monty, so when you're talking to it, because it's important, when you're talking to it, you have the transcript there and it shows the emotions that you're feeling, the top 3 that it can identify. Because they can identify how you
developed this.
Yeah, so you can identify how you're feeling.
This is not off-the-shelf stuff. This is you taught the AI.
I taught it how to do. You can identify how someone's feeling through text, voice, video, text, voice, and video. So you can do that. So then it writes the top 3 emotions that you're feeling in real time and how you think. Because the whole idea is that it can identify how you're feeling and then in real time cater to how you're feeling, to your emotional side. So the next day I get a phone call from one of the members saying, Monty, when I was talking to it and I was saying bye, it said the emotions that it said I was feeling was excited, curious, and sad. And then I was thinking to myself, why was I feeling sad? Because we were on a board meeting, and professionals and
trying to posture like a board member.
Exactly. But then I remembered right before the board meeting, I got a call from the school saying that my daughter had missed class and she suffers from mental health issues. And that brought me down. And the fact that your tool was able to identify that was incredible because it was subconscious because I was in the board meeting. So she was very fascinated about that. And then she introduced me to professors at one of the universities.
Because she works at that university. She's a professor at that university.
So she works at that university. And then we started talking. I presented as well. And now that led to us partnering with them to conduct research on students for one of their research purposes, which they'll reveal, but not me. So it was very interesting because that was not part of the plan. I just was doing my job, presenting what's happening. And now because it takes one person to completely change the trajectory of your business.
But you got to show up.
But you have to show up. Yes, you have to show up. Go for everything. When you're starting out, you're no one. No one's going to come up to you. You have to go out with intent to these areas and just do as much as you can to get noticed, especially with your values. So, yeah, that's...
there was a worry. When you presented this to the National Business Conference, I was like, just one of our youngsters gone. The country is losing out.
We have a very strong intellectual drain in Botswana. We send our students out there with top achievers. They stay there, they don't come back because it's very difficult here. Overregulated, etc. We're very fast to making regulations before innovation, and regulations stifle
That's interesting.
innovation.
I was telling some colleagues that in the advent of AI, as a country, we should have stepped up and set up speedily and urgently an AI center so that we collaborate about how the country can leverage AI. Now, the most topical issue right now is the Data Protection Act.
Yes.
It's a regulation.
With regulation.
It's not how can we...
Before we have any sort of innovation.
Exactly.
What are we going to be regulating without the innovation? Now it's just made it more expensive to do a startup in the digital space because
the first thing is
you have to get a lawyer to consult on how do I comply with this regulation. So there's just too much regulation which stifles innovation. So I was also saying I was also thinking why would someone come here to start a business in Botswana? Why? And because I was really debating, because after I finished university, I was like, okay, you were asking me, everyone was asking me where you're going to be based. And I was really thinking about it. I was like, I love my country. I love it so much. It has the most difficult problems and it needs it the most.
Solutions,
It really needs it. But in the UK, things move so fast. When they see value, they want to grab it very fast. And there you can scale faster. But they need it more here. And I was thinking, so why would I actually go back? Other than, because I was really looking at the reasons, other than the love for the country, why would I go to Botswana to do a startup? And I was finding it very difficult to find a reason. Because there was overregulation, paper-based. I want to open a bank account here. I have to go to the bank.
Like as if it's a shocking thing.
I was like, and then the business bank account.
Unheard of, yeah.
Yeah, and then the business bank account, I have to, because we were applying for something and you need a business bank account here. I was like, I have to go to the bank, to do it. And that's just such a waste of time.
And where we're really losing it is because, countries like South Korea, they said, countries like the UK and the US, they've been there. They've set up systems in the technology platform. When you are a late comer, it's an advantage for you to jump the line.
Yes, you can leapfrog to the front.
Don't start by using those stuff that they used a long time ago. You can just jump into AI. You don't have to go through the stuff in between.
Instead of instead of the Data Protection Act, we should have been focusing, okay, how can we regulate for the banks to be able to allow individuals to apply online and get everything delivered, the card delivered the next day. Make it stifle innovation.
Doing business at Botswana, we just take up. Yeah.
Exactly, but we're focusing on the wrong things because we want to follow the steps that the West did instead of just leapfrogging to the front.
Yeah, Monty, I like the showing up stuff. So I'm going to try to poke you with another example because you are also part of the digital economy, which is a Washington think tank, and through it you've been. I know that you've attended Forbes 30 here in Botswana where you've been invited and other speaking arrangements out there. But how does that help you as an entrepreneur to build momentum or attempt to 10x your business when you get involved in those type of things? And also how you got to become a fellow, a junior fellow in the Digital Economist. Yeah,
so I applied so I was like, it's very difficult to keep up with technology at the moment. It's very difficult. There's something new. The doubling curve for AI is every 6 months. The doubling curve for chips is about every 12 months. Every 18 months, sorry. Drones is about every 16 months. These things are moving very fast.
Exponentially.
These exponential technologies are so many, moving very fast. Yesterday I was giving a talk and I was asking them, showing them the difference between deceptive and disruptive. And I asked them, when did you hear about 3D printing 2 years ago? They said yes. What about 5 years ago? And some of them said yes.
Fewer.
10 years ago, no. 20 years ago, no. I was like, 3D printing has been there for 40 years.
That's correct.
But it's been deceptive growth. And then now all of a sudden it becomes disruptive.
As I say in Botswana,
Yeah. So it's very difficult to keep up with these things. So I was like, I need to join something where I can have access and also do research
and
keep
collaborate
up
with
them.
similar-minded type tech people.
Yes. So I joined the Digital Economist, which is a Washington-based think tank. They operate globally. They're always presented at Davos at the World Economic Forum, etc. And that's so we're going to be going. We went to Morocco to an event held by an organization in Germany for a different type of digital economy. And they invited me to come speak for education across the continent. And I went there. I was in Morocco. And, being in that environment is so vibrant because you're around people who also want to make change. So it's like when you're in, I was talking to a friend, I was like, every time I come to Botswana, my mood always goes down, But when I'm in the UK and I'm in that area, it's a
vibe.
Yeah, it's like, yes, let's get things done. Here it's like, no, let's keep things the same. Let's not do anything.
Yeah.
We want to maintain.
Chill.
Exactly. So it's very different. So showing up in those type of environments like the Digital Economist, you get to collaborate with people. You get access to experts in the area, Harvard lecturers, etc. You go to Davos, you go to events held in countries, etc. Unfortunately, they have the New York climate change thing at the moment going on.
Yeah, it's on now, isn't it? Yeah,
but we were invited to go.
Okay.
So you get access to all these expert individuals. Someone who's doing consulting for AI governance with the government of Dubai. The lead and they're in the part of the group. So I'm in the applied AI.
Applied because it's divided into
governance, sustainability, green technology, etc. I'm in the applied AI.
Okay.
Group. I'm a researcher.
So you're there with experts in AI, global experts in AI, researchers, entrepreneurs, consultants, and so on.
Yeah. So I'm a researcher there. And we get to collaborate. We're working on a nice tool for companies, etc. But you also learn so much. You learn from individuals. You get to collaborate. Now we have an opportunity to collaborate with another university in the US. But I was not part of the plan again. The plan was just, let's just show up and things will just happen.
Things opened up.
So that's the importance of showing up. You don't know where you're going to go.
Okay.
I mean, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have a business plan. 3 months later,
it's changed. It's totally changed. Yeah. But you got to show up.
Yeah. You have
in different places, meet people, take it on, build, be agile, pack stuff if it doesn't work, move on.
And be humble.
Stuff. Yeah.
And be humble.
That's important.
Yeah.
Be humble.
Yeah.
Because people recognize when you're humble.
Yeah. And they gravitate.
They can call you back.
That.
Exactly. Yeah. They can call you back.
Yeah.
That's very important.
Yeah. I mean, when you're not humble, you think you're the person. So you won't go and approach people at events. You wait for people to approach you. That doesn't work. You're no one.
Let's stay African.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because that's who we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. As you go towards the end, Monty, I just like us to speak more to the young people now as we come to the end in terms of your beliefs, your encouragement to them in terms of innovation. I always say we don't innovate enough in Botswana. I've been doing management consulting now for almost 25 years across different companies, sectors in Botswana. I still struggle to find a good innovation system per company. Just a simple thinking office. We tend to, as you said, organizations are built for efficiency, predictability, and being risk averse to maintain. And that has really stifled us to participate in the global innovation ecosystem. So I just wondered how would you encourage, because we've got a lot of vibrant young people. Some are in the diaspora. Some are here in Botswana, eager to get things going. I mean, some of them, I coach quite a number of them who, we meet often just to encourage them to ask questions, explore my journey as an entrepreneur as well. So how would you, what's the wisdom you've picked up thus far, young man?
But that is a good question because, I mean, in Botswana, we have a serious problem with youth unemployment. I think it's reaching 35% now. We somehow...
35% youth unemployment.
Yeah. I don't know why we want to compete with SA for the highest. I don't know why. But they just need the environment. Like you said, we don't innovate in Botswana. I haven't heard of any, R&D established R&D center where it's just, thinking innovative
And
new
patents
ideas.
and patents.
Patents. Unfortunately, you can't patent IP software here in Botswana. But I haven't heard of one.
Yeah.
We have our BDIH, which is a good, nice building, nice establishment, good real estate company. But there's not enough innovation still, because I think we also have to understand as young people.
You're throwing a remark. How can you say a good real estate company?
Because it's
But you're saying,
still important.
We brought John Kamara a few weeks ago here, a top AI from Ireland, and also with some work across Africa, top guy, in the African AI network. And we went to BDIH and he says, why is this empty? It should be busy. There should be a vibe. Yeah.
But I think also as young people, it's very difficult to suggest, because of our culture, it's very difficult to suggest new ideas to elders, because we're taught to listen to elders, don't question them, don't speak back to them, a lot of things. I struggle right now because in the West, in the UK, I can call an adult who's 40 years old. Hi, Samara. Hi, John. With just a...
Yeah, starting, I get 1, 2 more.
You have to do there, etc.
So that helps in terms of your be able to engage freely and candidly with...
Yes, because we're now equals, on that level.
I got you.
But here it's like, I have this nice idea that I think will really innovate your business, but, and then he pushes back, and then you're like, now should I speak back to him?
What do you mean pushing back? How does that come out?
In terms of they reject it initially, then you're like, but you want to show them how it is. So now you struggle to should I talk back to them, etc.
Is it good? Is it bad manners now?
Exactly.
Because I'm insisting and I'm pushy. I'm trying to push.
Exactly. And you're saying that they are wrong. Saying an adult is wrong, So it makes it very difficult. That's the honest truth. That's what I struggle with.
Yeah.
So, but I think also as young people, it's very important that we understand that, because we're told a lot why things can't happen.
But before you get there, what is the message to the elders, because obviously our civil service, even in the big corporates in Botswana, it's over 45s. It's all, how would you encourage them as well? I know I asked the question about young people, but I'd just like you to also just give us a couple of hints as to how we can be a bit more accommodative too.
I think
we should chill.
I think treat us as equals. When there was a government office I entered, and this was when I was 20, and we were trying to do drones, etc. I entered the government office and he said, Ngwana. I'm like, I already lost the respect. We're not equals anymore, just going in. We're no longer equals. This is going to be very difficult to now talk to them. So I think treat us as equals, because we have great ideas. Be open to them. And also the message to young people is that the rejecting reason is innovation, because adults tell us a lot of things why things can't happen, but when you reject that, you start innovating. And
that friction,
has
to shake you up to be more creative.
Don't take no as an answer. Don't listen to why it can't happen, because if they were right, our country would be prosperous right now. Like think about if whether it's private or public, if the adults were right about what they're doing, the country would not have the problems that we have right now. So clearly they're wrong. So clearly we need something new, and that will come most probably from the young people, because they don't have a Harvard MBA to unlearn. They don't have 20 years of experience of doing one thing one way to unlearn. That ignorance that we have.
That's an advantage.
It's a huge advantage, because you're going to go in and develop a new model just because you're like, but how do I figure this? Let me try this one. Let me try it this way. So just keep innovating. And the nice thing, most important part, because obviously money is very important. The price of doing a startup has been decreasing by 10x every couple of years. In 2000.
The price is going down. So there's really abundance out there for opportunities too.
Yeah. All you need is about, the YDF fund is enough to create a digital startup.
The YDF, the
YDF, the 100,000.
100,000.
It's about so about $3,000 around there, $4,000. That is actually enough to create a startup and have enough runway for 1 year. That is actually enough. You just have to go and learn
In
how
tech,
to do it.
especially.
In technology.
Yeah.
In technology, because the price keeps going down. So go keep learning. That's absolutely key. You do have access to funds to actually start. I don't know if you can start a digital company with YDF, but just say that you do one thing and then actually do the digital one, just to access the financing. And also, I think most importantly, because it was spoke about at the National Business Conference, that the Innovation Fund, it hasn't been really funding digital companies and new ideas. They should be open to new ideas. Don't just look at traditional things of, someone's manufacturing soap with marula. Yes, that's great. But don't just focus on that. Focus also on digital companies. Just because you don't understand something doesn't mean it's a bad idea. I think adults need to understand that as well.
Okay.
But yeah, young people, you have the energy. Just keep innovating. Do not make your customer base Botswana, only Botswana. Do not. Yeah. The internet has given you access to the world. So just when you create something, think about the entire continent or the entire world.
Yeah.
Because
that's a big one. Because sometimes there's so much emphasis on small business that I think that small business makes people stay small.
Yes, that's why I like saying startup.
Yeah.
Do not start an SME. Do not. We have too many of them. I would say we have too many entrepreneurs, but not enough startups. Because entrepreneurs are very good at SMEs, etc. But startups are very good at digital technology, which is new and original.
And can scale.
It's designed for that. So think about the globe as your customer base. Do not think. That's what inhibits many people. They say, hey, but Botswana is not adopting.
Exactly. They start complaining about government tenders because you are thinking so small in terms of your market.
Yeah. That's one of the biggest problems. The internet has provided you to the entire world. Please look at them as your market.
Okay.
I haven't been to the US in a couple of years, but the business is there. It's actually a US-based business. And we operate from there. We have customers there, but I haven't been there in a couple of years because of the internet. So it's just about changing your mindset, reading, Peter Diamandis, Ray Coswell, Salim, all those guys.
Exponential organization, learn a lot.
Yeah. Do not listen to...
I got to remind the viewers that you always make noise to us, listening to all these guys in the morning in some places that I don't want to mention, people like... that you are ever absorbing so much information.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to appreciate abundance out there, the statistics, what's happening in technology. Also, you balance that with a bit of philosophy. Philosophy meaning your Nietzsche, your Young. Can you just, as we close, anything from a philosophical point of view?
So when I was 19, I was misbehaving quite a lot. And then I got into the car accident at Airport Junction.
And wanted to kill you.
Yes, he actually wanted to kill me. And that was quite a turning moment because I don't know what happened, but it brought life into perspective. And I was like, but if I carry on like this, in this manner, and I keep saying, no, I'll grow up, I'll actually never grow up. I'll actually become a 35-year-old who's still a 12-year-old, an overgrown adult, an infant adult, I like calling them. So I was like, okay. So I dove deep into philosophy, etc., to improve myself, in terms of discipline, responsibility, morals, ethics, values. So that's when I started looking at Carl Jung, Nietzsche, Jordan Peterson, Carl Rogers, extra, all those guys. I went deep into them and just studied and built my value structure of that. That's why when I'm very big on responsibility, fulfilling responsibility is absolutely important to me. Getting up in the morning, and the basics even. Getting up in the morning, showering, brushing teeth, etc. That's a good start to the day. I've fulfilled 2 tasks. Let's just carry on the momentum. When you give someone your word, make sure you execute. So these guys have really taught me a lot. Jordan Peterson taught me a lot on responsibility. Carl Jung, a lot on philosophy and psychology. Nietzsche, life itself, existence. When he announced the death of God and predicted what would happen in the 20th century, it happened, but then Carl Jung came along and suggested a solution. Reading all of this will really help young people in growing up. Because in Botswana, we have a lot of infant adults, a lot of overgrown 12-year-olds, and it's a serious problem and it contributes to our mental health crisis here. one of the most unhappiest countries in the world in the UN Happiness Index. And yeah, so diving into that really sorted me out, in terms of starting the momentum to be responsible.
So you need to have a value system. I think that's what you're saying.
Key.
Because you cannot be, even an entrepreneur, you're into tech and you're just steaming along, but without a protective system, coping system that keeps you happy and motivated, then you are bound to be vulnerable.
I'll even share something. I'll share that because of that, so someone wanted to acquire GreyEd in the UK. They wanted to acquire it for like 4.1. And
4.1 what?
Pounds.
4.1 million pounds.
Million pounds, yes.
Yeah.
They wanted to acquire it for that. But the vision I had for GreyEd was very different from the vision that they had. They said that I developed something that they've been trying to develop for a couple of years now. And that's why they wanted to buy it. And they wanted to plug it into, they're building something much bigger. But it was going to change the vision of GreyEd. And I felt I have a responsibility to my customers and the people I decided to serve, that I'm going to fulfill this and give it to them. So because of that, even though that's quite an attractive offer, I rejected it because my morals were like, no, you still have a responsibility to your customers, to the people you decided that you're going to serve. So, but I know that if without that structure, I definitely would have taken it. Without that's it's very
especially if you let money to lead you, or if you're saying, these couple of, these millions of pula, there I go, I can go get my Range Rover, I can get my house.
Exactly.
I'm sorted, baby. And then, so that's interesting.
I mean, in your 20s and you get an offer like that, most people accept it.
Yeah, they'll grab and run.
Yeah, some people even call you insane for not accepting it. But because of that value structure, that morals, I didn't do it. So I think it's very important that you actually develop those things.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, great stuff, Monty. Anything else that you want to share at the end, or is that?
No, I think it's just to encourage young people to try new things, to be responsible. It starts with yourself. There's that famous thing that if you can't make up your bed in the morning, what makes you think you can go out and change the entire economic structure of the world?
Absolutely.
So start with the small things. Could they lead to the big things?
Yeah.
And just keep taking risks. I know our country is risk averse, but just keep taking risks.
No, thanks, Monty. This has been quite mind-blowing. And starting with the experience that you had when you were young, with the struggles with the dyslexic in school, and then with the incident with the car, there's another philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, who said, turn your tears into knowledge. Basically saying that all these things you can turn into something valuable for yourself. And I think this is the lesson that we're getting from Monty at his, very tender age of 24 years old. So I hope you got some valuable lessons there, especially if you're a young person. But as you can see, there was also some lessons for us on the other side of the border in terms of age that we got to learn to accommodate the young people. We like speaking about them. We like making noise about the young people. But when it comes to reality and making a difference and accommodating them and making them part of us, Monty most of the time says, Papa, I went to this Forbes conference, but there was all people around me were old people. So these are the challenges that we got to do. We got to give them space, let them lead, put them in positions of authority where they can make decisions. You want to add to that?
At the Forbes thing, I was part of the VVIP.
You're part of the VV, very, very important persons.
I was in that section.
Yeah.
I promise you, I was the only one in my 20s there. I was the only one. Everyone was over. Even though it was Forbes under 30, I was the only one there who was in my 20s.
I think that's a classic example. So I hope you got it. There we go. Go and do something. Entrepreneurship, in my view, that's what's going to get Africa out of the current daunting challenges that we've got. So I hope the lessons from Monty are very valuable. Please see you again next week. And remember what you got to do. Just subscribe and let's get more and more of the Montys onto the postcard. And then we will get going. Thank you very much and see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of growth and discovery. We hope today's episode has inspired you to dig deeper and rise higher in your personal and professional life. Keep tuning into the Growth Well podcast for more stories, insights, and strategies to help Africa grow and thrive. Until next time, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep growing. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell.